anyone logging on, I want to welcome you and say we'll just begin in a couple of minutes. We're going to give a little time for people to log on. Let me just make sure to. There we go. There's the controls. Okay, we do have a pretty dense schedule today, so I think I'm going to go ahead and get started with the IIDA business here. So apologize the clunkiness a little bit, but there we go. So again, welcome to the 5th installment of the SPF series that IIDA Southern California has put together for you. This is the business of personal brand. And our speaker today is going to be Samara Fireside, who is the art director at IIDA Headquarters. First and foremost, we always want to thank our 2021 chapter sponsors at the patron, donor, and friend level. And then we also want to give a special shout out to our design partners, AECOM, Gensler, HOK, Oculus, and Walcott. Without you, we couldn't put on any of this awesome programming. So thank you everyone who continues to support our chapter. So without further ado, I will introduce our esteemed speaker, Samara Fireside. Samara comes to IIDA with over 20 years of experience in communication design with a focus on the relationship between design and brand. She calls herself a creative pragmatic, balancing out the craft of design along with the strategy. Working for museums, cultural institutions, and other design practices, she's a visual storyteller that understands it takes a lot of hard work to make something simple. Isn't that the truth? Her motto is always keep your eyes and ears open and keep a curious mind. So without further ado, I will toss this over to Samara and give me just a moment to bring up her slideshow. And you were able to unmute yourself, right?
I'm unmuted and ready to go.
Excellent. Here we go.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you for coming today. And as the introduction says, my name is Samara Fireside, although only recently my name was actually Susan. And I'll talk about what that switch was about a little bit later. But right now, I am thrilled as the art director here at IIDA Headquarters to be talking about something that has been a big part of my career, and that is developing brands. I've been fortunate to work with some really nice, big established brands on large teams that involve multiple stakeholders and others in the branding process, as well as working on some smaller brands, everything from museums, tech startups, cannabis branding, as well as personal brands as well. It's interesting that the process for branding, for personal branding, as well as business branding there's a lot of parallels. And so during this presentation, I'm gonna talk personal, I'm gonna talk about business. For the most part though, they're pretty interchangeable. And I'm using examples from both personal branding as well as business branding to give you an idea about branding in general. So there's going to be things that you're going to learn from businesses as well as personal that my goal here today is that you'll take with you and consider as you continue and move about, the brand that is you. So that being said, My goal here is that I want you to understand the importance of branding and that it is not just one single thing that you do, but that it reflects every single touch point that is part of your business or your person. So I have less than an hour to talk about a lot of things, and we are going to cover a lot, but in all honesty, we are going to barely touch the surface. And so this next like 40 minutes is going to be packed. I wish I had like a half a day to even go through this, maybe a week, or really this is 20 years of knowledge like condensed into 40 minutes. And so um, we're just gonna pile on a lot. And I hope you stay interested and also as well as entertained. This is broken up into two parts. The first part is more strategy and business, and the second part is really about the visual narrative. And for a lot of people, they want to get right down to, I want to design a logo and what color is my brand going to be? But really, that's the second half of branding. The first part of branding is really, it starts with strategy. And I'll connect the strategy to the visuals. And, just in the case of Apple here, a company that everyone is familiar with, you'll see that it could take a lot of work to make something look very simple. So let's just jump right in. I don't think we have any sound.
I wonder if that's because I'm muted. Let me try that again.
Our skills
hear it now?
perfected over the
Yes,
years. All these magical
start
things.
over.
Color.
Okay, let's try it again. Okay, let's go here. All right, you. There it goes.
What is branding? As creators, we want to think it's about us, our brilliant talent, our skills we perfected over the years. All these magical things. Color, space, shape, tension, harmony, typography, beauty, simplicity. Then why do certain brands become great brands? Brands that connect, resonate, and spread like wildfire. It's because we tapped into our ability to see, not as ourselves, but as others. To see the minute details and trends others don't see, not just on the computer screen, or in books, or in galleries, but in and through the eyes, hearts, and minds of people. Geniuses have that special skill to look at the universe of people and translate that into the universe of visual and written communications, to transform those observations we each sense into something we can each tangibly see and understand. That is the magic. That is the spark. That is the genius that gets each of us interested and keeps us going for something greater, for something previously impossible, for something nobody ever thought of before. That is the magic of branding.
Okay, well, that seemed a little intense, but I thought it was the perfect way to start because nowhere in this video did they talk about branding. Did it mention a logo, a social media account, an ad, or even what they're selling? Instead, he talked about the magic of branding. where it comes from, and how to find it. You see, it wasn't that long ago there really wasn't a need for branding because there were only a few products on the market and not a lot of competition. You needed sugar, you went to the store and you picked up sugar. There wasn't a need to think about it. Unlike today, when our choices seem to be completely endless, almost overwhelming. Have you ever gone to the grocery store and there's like 40 different types of salad dressings? I don't even know how to like choose between that many. So how do you go about knowing which product is the right product for you? Are you going to just randomly pick up a container of sugar, or are you going to consider a number of factors? And how do you know what to choose from when it's the first time you see it in the store? That's where branding comes in. So what is a brand? Well, if you go by the simplest definition, it's that a brand is a name given to a product or service such that it takes on an identity by itself. And a brand name can create and stand for loyalty, trust, faith, premiumness, or mass market appeal, depending on how the brand is marketed, advertised, and promoted. A brand name, in term, design, symbol, or any other feature that identifies a seller's good or service as distinct from those of other sellers. Okay, that's a long definition, and that's a whole lot of terms and marketing speak and business speak. And also consider a brand, again, is not just a logo. A logo, which many people somehow think is a brand, is just really a graphic that represents the brand in a visual mark boiled down to its very essence. A logo is part of a brand, but not the only part. So what makes a great brand? It's simple, be remarkable, and have great products and service. Okay, we know that isn't always so easy. It's not always enough to have a great product and service. We all have been there. And we also know that there aren't that many great brands in the world, which is why there are companies that specialize in marketing, advertising, branding, sales, design, every part of the possible process in a business aligns with branding. So with this series of steps that we're going to do here as well as on your own, the goal here is to help you establish a brand, a personal brand, with a series of steps that I'm going to walk you through to help you craft this narrative. And as the leader in branding today, Debbie Millman, she says, branding is storytelling elevated to narrative, often embellished with myth to enhance a product's identity. The branding story, conveyed through signs, symbols, and other elements, results in the manufactured legacy that appeals to consumers. So I think that explains a little bit how we get to that magic. Okay, the goals of branding. There's really 4, actually, which I'm a big fan of, just, numbering things and making a list and keeping them simple. But the goals of branding: creating recognition and credibility, reaching your audience, getting new business and keeping clients, and then driving the bottom line. Okay, so for example here, a brand can change our buying decisions. With all things being equal, I have to admit, I was more drawn to the Warby Parker glasses and the creative spirit of being a disruptor that Warby Parker stands for than just buying glasses from the other site. Aesthetically, they're pretty similar. Price-wise, also very similar as well. But I also knew the brand story of Warby Parker, their social mission of buy a pair, give a pair, as well as free glasses to elementary school children in need. And I have to be honest, I wanted to be a part of that. Bottom line, it was their brand story, their mission, their values, and their goals that it was enough for me to affect where I wanted to spend my money. Okay. Let's go with one of the biggest known brands in the world, Nike, an iconic brand that everyone is familiar with. Nike produces a wide range of sports equipment. Okay, think about this for a moment. When I said Nike, did you really just think about shoes or clothes? So why do people love Nike? Lots of companies make sports equipment. How is it that with all things being equal, price, product, quality, are we not always talking about Adidas or New Balance? Again, this is where branding comes in.
We're never alone. And that is our strength. Because when we're doubted, we'll play as one. When we're held back, we'll go farther and harder. If we're not taken seriously, we'll prove that wrong. And if we don't fit the sport, we'll change the sport. We know things won't always go our way.
And the world's sporting events are postponed or cancelled.
But whatever it is, we'll find a way. And when things aren't fair, we'll come together for change.
We have a responsibility
To make this world a better place. And no matter how bad it gets, we will always come back stronger. Because nothing can stop what we can do together.
I think I've seen this video like 20 times, and every time I see it, I'm completely moved by it. It is a powerful video. The images, the words, world-class athletes mixed with everyday players. It touches on something more than just buying a pair of sneakers. It goes to the heart of Nike's brand and their spirit. Beyond the famous tagline, "Just do it," their promise is to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. They're selling more than shoes here. It's a way of life. And you can see by the Nike finances that are on the right side, their brand is selling.
The question we asked was, our customers want to know who is Apple and what is it that we stand for? Where do we fit in this world? And what we're about isn't making boxes for people to get their jobs done, although we do that well. We do that better than almost anybody in some cases. But Apple's about something more than that. Apple, at the core, its core value is that we believe that people with passion can change the world for the better. That's what we believe. And we've had the opportunity to work with people like that. We've had an opportunity to work with people like you, with software developers, with customers who have done it in some big and some small ways. And we believe that in this world, people can change it for the better. And that those people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones that actually do. And so
that last quote from Steve Jobs is just, it's probably one of the most quoted quotes of all times when it comes to motivating people and really rising up, especially for people who are in the creative fields. Apple has changed the way some of us work and live. So It's pretty incredible. But how does Apple become a brand? How do you make or become a brand? I've heard countless times throughout my professional career, people say something to me like, I want something simple, just like Apple, except that it's not so simple, because even Apple wasn't always Apple without a lot of careful thought, and it doesn't happen overnight. Steve Jobs, seen here in this early video, he understood it. He understood that it takes more for his company than what he makes. He was getting down to what the company's brand essence is all about. In order to begin the branding process, you have to start at the beginning. Of course, that's where you set the foundation for anything. So as I mentioned, we're going to do strategy and thinking up front, and then the visuals are going to follow. And you really, as much as it hurts people, the visuals should never come first. The brand is driven by strategy in order for it to really be successful. So let's start looking at how brands are crafted. In order to develop a strong brand, that means understanding what makes Apple, Nike, Oprah, who is a person and a brand, or any business, what and who they are. Some companies do it better than others, Sony, Disney, Starbucks, just to name a few. They're more than just what they sell. People have emotional connections to these products and services, and these companies know that. You hear of cult of Apple, but you don't hear like cult of Microsoft, do you? Through their brand and their marketing, they create experiences made up of sights, sounds, tastes, even smells. They know that every touch point a person has with that business reflects and creates their brand. So before any colors are chosen, any graphics are made, it starts with understanding who you are and what you want to be. Asking the who, what, why questions. Who do you serve? How do you do it? Why do you do this? What do you want to be known for? How do you want to be perceived? Now, determining what you want to be known for sounds easy, but it's not. Figuring this out is what is going to help you find a way to rise above all that noise. And when I say noise, let's think about this for a moment. Every day we see an estimate between 6,000 to 10,000 ads. Now, considering what else we are looking at, and you realize how everything is competing for our attention. How many emails alone do you get each day? How many images on social media are you scrolling through? And while I have these listed as bullet points here, make no mistake, this can be a long and detailed process, which is why there are companies that specialize in marketing, advertising, branding, sales, and design. I can go on and on here, but there are a lot of different steps that you can take to help you develop a brand, which can include brand strategy, brand audits, competitive analysis, stakeholder interviews, brand architecture development, naming, brand strategy, customer journey maps, brand personas, brand manifestos, as well as focus groups. However, for the sake of this presentation, because I only have 40 minutes, I'm just touching the surface to give you ideas and how to think about new things. And while some of these examples are using businesses, the process of developing personal brands is similar. By figuring out your brand purpose, brand values, beliefs, and passion, it starts to clarify those questions. So let's talk a moment again about Nike. Their mission is to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world, with an asterisk at the bottom that actually says, if you have a body, you are an athlete. The official Nike purpose statement reads, our purpose is to unite the world through sport to create a healthy planet, active communities, and an equal playing field for all. Nike's values are innovation, sustainability, responsible sourcing, diverse community, and equality. Long before that swoosh was created, or their favorite tagline, or any retail experience, print, ad, or marketing, they already knew what they were building. Determining what you want to be known for. What makes you different? I want you to think about what you are known for with your family and friends. What are you the go-to at work? If a colleague were to describe you, what would they say? And then ask yourself, is this how you want to be perceived? With branding and understanding these questions, you can change and alter any of these things so that the message is clear and you're conveying the right message to the right people. I've used some things in my practice that really help to clarify some of these questions. A great example is something I use, actually it's right here. It's called the brand deck. It's actually just a deck of cards. And the brand deck is a great example in drilling down and getting some clarity. It's a series of cards that help you identify characteristics and traits about your business. By understanding who you are and who you are not, you can better define what makes you different. So for every card, there's two sides. You would choose the cards that best describe you, whittling it down to about 6 cards. If you find that you're torn between a card, consider that communicating 2 sides of a coin are very difficult. Can you be pessimistic and optimistic? Can you be big and small? So clarity is key. Branding and personal branding require a lot of introspection. There's a lot of fear in limiting. I think there's even more problems when you actually don't limit. We want to find the people that want what you are offering, and to some extent, getting rid of the tire kickers before they waste any of our time. So ask yourself again, what are you known for among your family and friends? What are you the go-to at work? If a colleague were to describe you, what would they say? And ask yourself, is this how I want to be perceived? We're trying to make all these experiences and impressions line up with who we are and what we want others to know about us. Branding allows us to not only make sure our message is heard the way we want it, as well as fixing anything that doesn't reflect us in ways that we don't. Okay, we have a 1-minute activity, literally 1 minute, okay? First, I want you to write down the name of your favorite brand. And I want you to write down the first name that comes to mind, okay? So it should have just been something immediately off the top of your head. And then I want you to describe 3 reasons you like that brand, okay? It's 12:28, and we will do this till 12:29. So you'll probably see that the reasons why you like something are varied. Maybe it's something that you've seen the packaging on social media and you liked how it looked, or you've used the product before. Maybe you had to call customer service because there was a problem and they were so helpful. Not only did they take care of the problem, they sent you a $10 gift card for your next purchase because of your troubles. Or maybe you thought of your favorite product because the quality is so good, and even though it was so expensive, it made you feel very special every time you used it. So what's the point of all that? Those are like all just completely unrelated sounding things, but really it's to once again show how there are so many different experiences that come together to form your opinion on a brand. We each have a personal experience with a product or service that shapes these opinions. And the art of branding is finding out how to create, craft, and connect in tangible and intangible ways to our clients and potential clients the reasons to choose us. When building a strong brand, you need to have a clear message, be relevant, passionate, distinct, credible, consistent, and visible. Defining an audience will help clarify who and how you establish a tone of voice, target your audience, conduct market research, and create goals. And now I'm going to ask more questions. Like I said, it starts with strategy. Because by clarifying these questions, you'll better understand your value proposition. And this would probably be a really good time to jot these down just so you can remember them and fill this in a little bit later. So ask yourself, what do you do? And then describe the problem you help your clients solve and or the result you help them achieve. What are your strengths? Also, what are your weaknesses? This is to help you answer the questions, what is your brand mission? What is your purpose? What do you want to accomplish? And in order to create the brand message, figuring out what is the key message you want to communicate. Asking yourself, who is your target market? And what do you do most that will help? Consider describing your demographics, aspirations, pain point, and challenges of your ideal client. Okay, so at this point, you might be asking yourself, what are we supposed to do with all this information? So if you do any of these exercises and the discovery and the strategy sessions first, it all will start to make more sense in the second part. And as I mentioned at the beginning, brands have an identity that goes beyond just their product or service itself. We are crafting something more personal because we are trying to connect with people. We are trying to find that magic. People are emotional and we make decisions on a number of factors. So brands can connect to people by developing brand personalities with attributes that go along with that personality that really craft a brand in a way that people can connect. Part of developing a brand or personal brand is figuring out what is the brand personality. And yes, I know that you here are already people, but personal brands fall under a framework of different brand personalities, same way a business does. Brand personalities convey different characteristics. There are only actually 5 brand personalities, and those are sincerity, excitement, competence, sophistication, and ruggedness. It's those personalities whose characteristics that will help later inform other brand traits such as tone of voice, visuals, and so on. Every brand lies somewhere on the spectrum for each of these personalities. The most enduring brands largely emphasize just one primary trait and optionally only one secondary trait, if even. You can't be everything to everybody, and therefore you can't have every personality. You have to choose your direction clearly and intentionally. Sincere brands are honest, genuine, wholesome, and down to earth. Think of things that give you warm fuzzies: family, friendship, caregiving, gifting, service, honor, generosity. Sincerity is an attribute you'll see associated with many food, hospitality, and safety brands. Some favorite examples of these brands are Campbell's Soup, Hallmark, Oprah, Pampers, Allstate, Coca-Cola, Tom's. Excitement. Exciting brands are often those that appeal to younger demographics with energetic advertising, high-octane design, and celebrity endorsements. These brands are daring, spirited, imaginative, cool, unique, contemporary, and anti-establishment. Lots of brands across nearly every channel can fall under the umbrella of excitement, like Monster Energy, Nike, MTV, T-Mobile, TikTok. Then there's confidence. Here we mean brands whose ethos is reliability, responsibility, trustworthiness, intelligence, successfulness, and confidence. Think banks, insurance companies, logistic firms, medical brands. Some examples are Chase, Verizon, UPS, Volvo, and Microsoft. And then there's sophistication. It's a brand personality that means luxurious, glamorous, upper class, charming, and like excitement, a sophistication cuts across categories, though generally at the northern end of price range. Sophisticated brands include Hermes, American Express, Apple, Mercedes, Grey Goose, Patek Philippe. And last, there's ruggedness. And rugged brands are those built to last. These brands are hardworking, authentic, strong, muscular, high quality. Some examples are LL Bean, Otterbox, Land Rover, Levi's, Jack Daniels, REI. By understanding your brand's personality, meaning where you fit into these categories, it will help consumers recognize your brand as more trustworthy and will help inform every decision in establishing the visual narrative. You can see here the logos associated with these personalities. You can drill down further into brand archetypes, which allows you to further delve into these brand personas. Archetypes were a concept introduced by Carl Jung, who believed that there were models of people, behaviors, and personalities. Archetypes, he suggested, were inborn tendencies that play a role in influencing human behavior. Archetypes are successfully used in film, books, and in branding. And in branding, the archetypal framework helps us build human-like brand personas, and the best brands are forged by identifying solidly with one and only one core archetype. Again, this is going deep, but I wanted you to be aware that the more clarity a brand has, the more it will inform the visual narrative.
Oops, sorry about that. There we go.
So why are we doing this? Because brands need to find their purpose, something that your company strives for beyond selling more products or services. Dove isn't just about selling soap. Dove's mission is to increase the self-esteem of women. They desire to redefine the definition of beauty so that women of all ages can feel better about themselves. Purpose is the why behind your brand. It's the reason your company exists. A brand's purpose defines the soul of the organization. It's what a particular organization stands for. If you want to stand out, your brand has to stand for something beyond its products and services. By figuring out their purpose, Dove is beyond selling soap. They're ushering a new way of thinking about beauty and aging. And I don't know about you, but I'd rather see people my age making myself feel beautiful than being told by an entire industry that I am not meeting their standards of beauty. It's this kind of revolutionary thinking when you think about it. Okay, but still they're selling soap. Other ways to figure out your brand is to look at your brand essence. And your brand essence gives depth to your unique selling proposition by going beyond price and product features, educates your audience, and also helps to develop a reputation in your chosen field. When you create a brand essence, it serves as your manifesto and arms everyone involved in your brand and business with a unifying and empowering message. Now let's look at some of the big brands, like Starbucks. I love using big brands as an example because you already have some preconceived ideas about them. You probably already have something in your head just by even mentioning their name. So even with a company as well known as Starbucks, you can go to their website and they will tell you who they are. Sure, they don't necessarily say, our brand personality is sincerity. Companies don't do that. But look at the language they use even on their website. You can see here, these are just screen captures that I made a couple weeks ago of Starbucks website and how they tell their story. Sometimes companies share this information. I can't believe I didn't turn off my phone during a presentation. I just broke the cardinal rule and I apologize for that. As I was saying, sometimes companies actually share this information because it goes along with their brand, especially companies that value authenticity. They're very clear and relatable in the language, design, and words they use, and the images that they use as part of their brand. Even on their website, they describe their photography as honest. Product is beautiful and believable. People are authentic and relatable. They understood that if their brand is about sincerity, then everything they do should align with that.
Now, we're bringing you all the ways to get what you need. Target run and done.
So to quote the company that designed the Target brand, they're called Little, they said the Target brand didn't happen by accident. Every touch point is carefully crafted to radiate the one-of-a-kind Target personality. In 2 decades of partnership, we worked across scores of Target divisions to reinforce this brand for internal and external audiences. By designing memorable, brand-right experiences, we connected storylines and designed new narratives that help Target invent an innovative mass with class market, from gift cards to community relations, internal communications to healthcare, and much, much more. They help Target stay at the top of its game. And they did this through the look and feel, the logo, applications, touch point, interiors, website, and commercials. Each of these experiences work together and also by itself. You have to consider how something needs to work as a standalone, as well as seeing it in context and through different applications. Crafting a brand is not one thing, it is all the things. From the dark colors, edgy grunge style type in all caps in the Harley Davidson logo, this brand stands for ruggedness. Designers understood this before creating the identity for the brand, even before choosing the colors. Another part of differentiating is what's called brand voice. Now, just like everything else in branding, we are trying to differentiate. This means when you talk, write, post, tweet, that you are consistent in how you communicate. When we talk about brand voice, we mean brand personality described in an adjective. For instance, brands can be lively, positive, cynical, or professional. A brand's tone is a subset of your brand's voice. Tone adds specific flavor to your voice based on factors like audience, situation, and channel. You start developing a voice for your brand by examining your culture, community, and how you have conversation. You can see how different characteristics are trying to convey with your personal brand would also have many attributes you need to be aware of. Passionate brands use certain language that has an upbeat, playful feel. Authentic brands are honest and direct. This helps to establish your brand trust by allowing cues from a familiar and trustworthy persona into messaging. Things to consider in your voice is cadence, rhythm, length, volume, velocity, inflection, emotion, enunciation, and pitch. And as you can see with the example from Design Bitches, an architecture and design firm that from their unexpected name, sense of humor in their messaging, and the unique black and white logo, that they all rise above the noise. I know it stopped me in my tracks when I was scrolling through Instagram. I mean, how can you not when you see Design Bitches? Thought it was absolutely brilliant. Now we get to the visual narrative. Nouns. We have 15 minutes left, and now I get to talk about the way things look. This is really the part where people want to start, but it really is the beginning of the end. Now, until you understand how you want to differentiate, it's a lot harder to come up with the visuals that really reflect your brand. The Nike swoosh doesn't mean anything until after everything else is assigned. As someone whose work has included identity design, I'm here to tell you that a professionally designed logo, fixed color palette, brand fonts, and consistent use of images will go incredibly far. Think again how many thousands of images we see each day. How do you rise above all that? How do you get noticed? If you can hire a professional with these next parts, do. But this is a creative group, and you all know the principles of design, so you will have an easier time than most if you end up doing this yourself. There are a lot of resources out there to get you started, each with its own take, business, marketing, design, brand development, each coming from a very different perspective. Branding assigns tangible and intangible and inseparable attributes like the name, logo, voice, shape, etc., to the offering that helps develop a personality that has a distinct identity in the market. There's many ways to develop an identity. The first being a logo, a mark that represents the brand. The reason to create a mark is that it aids in recognition and differentiation. It's a visual signifier distilled down to its very essence, a representation, and what it's attached to. It isn't until much time has passed and repeated use and always in context does the logo gain recognition, kind of like people. Okay, so what makes a good logo? Easy recognition, versatile, memorable, and simple. Just be careful who does your logo for you. Logos communicate an awful lot in a very small size. There are so many ways this can go bad. And I think everyone at some point has seen a horrific logo. So you know exactly what I'm talking about. So heed this warning. A bad logo, like a resume with a lot of misspelled words, can actually hurt. Logos can be developed as an abstract mark, such as the Nike swoosh, a word mark, such as Google, a pictorial mark, such as Apple's Apple, an emblem like Harley Davidson, or a letter mark, such as McDonald's. Of course, color plays a huge part in developing a brand. I don't have to tell this group how color theory works. You can see the associations of a color in this slide, as well as the emotions that they convey. We use color to communicate in branding ways to express ourselves and to stand apart. Some companies use color so much that it is inextricably tied to their brand. Look at Tiffany's with their blue, a company whose brand personality is sophistication. Remember, sophisticated brands mean luxurious, glamorous, upper class, and charming. The beautiful product photography, black and white photos of glamorous people in glamorous situations conveys that in their print advertising and of course their iconic packaging. Donna Karan. So for example, Donna Karan, with her newest adventure, Urban Zen, is using browns and blacks as her color palette to convey natural, comfort, classic. From the materials in her clothes to the space itself, the authentic handwritten type of her logo, she's crafted the story with the images she carefully chooses. It doesn't matter if you're looking at her website or her social media or coming across a printed brochure, you know it's hers. Her brand personality is also sincerity. Billie Eilish's acid colors in her hair, she mimics that in her portraits as well as her website. Even her wordmark logo is bold by having it in all caps and sheer to show movements. It fits her energy. Her clothes, which are often patterned, clashing, and oversized, although not last week, I guess she changed it up again, has been the topic of a lot of magazine fodder. She owns it. She takes no apologies for anything. And that all aligns with her brand personality, which is excitement. In fact, I've even chosen red as my brand color. It's a color of excitement, strength, and energy. All concepts I want to convey as part of my brand. I also use the image of matches as part of my brand to align with my messaging about passion and spark. Even as a designer, it's not always about showing the actual work we do. It's about telling our story. And stories are made up of so much more than just the end product. When using images, consider how they work together. Do they tell a cohesive story through the use of color and style? Are the images good quality? Blurry images can indicate that you don't care about quality, that you don't pay attention to detail. Is that a message you want to give to your potential clients? Is that on brand for you? Which leads me to headshots. Everyone here at some point needs one. Whether used on LinkedIn, your company's website, social, these are moments to reinforce your brand. Now, headshots usually include head and shoulders with a complete focus on the face. There are no distracting props or backgrounds. IIDA marketing begs you to please get one taken, making sure there's lots of room on both sides as well as top to bottom. This is in case you're speaking or doing anything that requires cropping as needed. Plain colored walls, empty offices, stairwells, or any other location with neutral colors will work as headshots. There are a ton of faux pas happening online with headshots. Obvious selfies, blurry or dark photos, things you just don't want in your background. Look carefully at what you're posting and what's in the background. Consider what your headshot says about you. Is it clean and professional? Are you holding a cocktail on a boat? Just think twice about using that for work. Is that part of your brand? Now, portraits, on the other hand, meet a variety of needs. They can be waist up or full body, and they include props and setups of every description. They can be playful and joyous, and they're really there to tell a bigger brand story. Your photos are a tool to share a quick taste of your style and vibe, so let your personality shine. Brainstorm how you can insert your brand into these portraits and candid images that connect with your target audience at a deeper level. You might use them on social media or other ways to promote, so it's a great way to do more nuanced storytelling. Now, with the practice of graphic design, that optimizes your marketing efforts across all channels and is key to building a professional brand. Being consistent in your marketing collateral allows your brand to be easily recognizable and allows your customers and clients quickly to get familiar with what you or your business has to offer. Consider what shapes and styles can be used to create an aesthetic and a story that connects to your audience. How do these pieces work not just, again, as a standalone, but as an entire system? Of course, there's type. That's an entire visual language based on typography. Beyond what the words itself means, how we use typography is another way to convey certain characteristics such as intelligence, authority, passion, creativity. Type that has a serif, that little flourish that is the decorative element in a typeface, is used more in traditional and conservative businesses such as legal and financial. While type without those flourishes can feel more contemporary. Typefaces that are light and weight can feel sophisticated and elegant, while hand-drawn type can convey a feeling of being more personal. The same way fashions change over time, typefaces can often be associated with a certain time period. Having an understanding of the history and association of type, along with how it's legible on different applications and with color, are the key of the personal brand. What's great is that there are plenty of free options with typography that you can Google with Google Fonts that you can use for both personal and professional use. In case you're wondering what the difference is between a font and a typeface, well, fonts are just the digital version of type.
Latin typeface debuted, shaving off the serifs to create a more commercially useful font that worked well in large sizes. Serifs and sans serifs now represent two primary categories in typography, and the meanings we associate with them has as much to do with their history as with their look. Serifs, those little feet along the edges of a letter, are copied from the Roman inscriptions that first inspired Renaissance scholars, a stylistic tradition that's existed for millennia. So in contrast, the more recently invented sans serifs, with their clean edges and even strokes, evoke simplicity and modernity. Beyond societal shifts, typography also reflected trends, like during the Egyptomania craze of the 19th century, when the first Egyptian slab serif was given that name not because of its design, but as a clever marketing ploy. Later movements like Bauhaus, among others, would also reflect their aesthetics through new forms of typography. Like all trends, the pendulum eventually swung back, rejecting the wild typefaces of the 19th century in favor of simpler shapes. During that time, in 1957, Helvetica, a modern-looking sans serif and one of the world's most popular fonts, was born. Nostalgia and experimentation filled the advertisements, posters, and signage of the 20th century with different styles of typography, cementing the associations that certain fonts carry in popular culture, like how this type has become a shorthand for horror. The next evolution in typography came in the 1960s with the advent of digital type and early bitmap fonts, built with bulky pixels. As tech advanced, so did type, with designers taking inspiration from the past while also adapting to the new needs of digital platforms. Today, making a new typeface is easier than ever, and it's a design and branding element that companies consider right alongside their logos and corporate colors. Because throughout its history, type has been used to communicate more than just the words it spells out. After all, Roman, one of the most common types we use, was pulled from ancient engravings, reimagined in the Renaissance by scholars who wanted to align themselves with a great empire, became a symbol of Catholicism, was used as a tool to civilize the colonies, and has been stretched, distorted, and used in countless formats, only to end up as your computer's default font.
I have to admit the end kind of made me a little sad as someone who is just a lover of type. It was Roman, the default font. As the video mentioned, there are 4 basic kinds of typefaces: serif, sans serif, decorative, and script. Again, by knowing your brand personality, you'll have a better idea of what type to use. You don't want to use a decorative typeface if you're a designer whose work has a minimalist point of view. It sends the wrong message and will confuse people. It's important to note also that logos evolve over time because of changes in the business offering, changes to the company, or changes due to the times that we live in. Even the most iconic logos might see a tweak here and there. However, a refreshed logo does not mean it's a rebrand. That term is overused and doesn't apply to a tweak in a logo. Take a look at Apple's first logo with its decorative illustration, use of all capital serif lettering. The early logo seems incredibly traditional. In fact, it looks like the brand personality of competence rather than excitement. And excitement is what gets people to line up for hours when you launch a new product. Competence is what you get when you go online and order yours from CDW. Get it? A brand does not work unless people interact with it. So you'll have to put it out there. And brands that don't will never know about it. So what you see is working and not just what you think it does. Research is imperative. I highly recommend looking at brands who you admire and also brands that you don't. See what it is that isn't working and understand what isn't. Check out companies and individuals' Instagram pages, and you start to get a glimpse of a way that it all starts to come together. Of course, you have the logo. Look at how small it's used here. Can you read it? Did the color catch your eye? What typeface are they using? What is the name that they use? What do they say? You have very few characters allowed in a bio on Instagram, so you need to be clear and concise of what you put in there. What's the language you use? What's your tone? Look at the images and videos that are shared. Do they tie together? Is there consistency in how they use color and images? Looking at Instagram is really one of the quickest ways to get an idea about a brand in one single place. Well-developed brands don't just sell products, they tell a story. There are going to be common content types that you can use your brand in, such as articles, video, podcasts, webinars, interviews, case studies, PDF guides, resume, portfolio presentations. Typical content mediums you might see a brand in would be your blog, your website, YouTube, social media, online publications, email, visibility plan, guest blogging, podcasts, interviews, more social media, paid advertising, partnerships, and joint ventures. And then, of course, building your community, social media group, live events, and so on. What's your brand? So in short, it's your reputation. Each interaction you have with others has the opportunity to create a memorable experience, teaching them what they can expect from you. When you're consistent in delivering those experiences, you build a strong reputation. Delivering your brand clearly and consistently across a wide audience helps open doors to opportunities. Your brand becomes your personal calling card, a unique promise of value, a distinct and authentic representation of you. Which takes us back to the beginning. As I mentioned, I recently changed my legal name. I had shared through social media the following statement, and I wanted to share it with you. What's in a name? Everything. Ask any Karen or Ivanka or anyone getting married, getting divorced, or having a baby. Names are a commitment. We use them to honor the past or even to continue a legacy of the living. They're a word, a symbol of who we are, who we might be, and where we are going. So you can imagine that feeling like you connect with the one word that is used to identify you. You see, I've never liked my name. I've never been my name. My born name is Susan. It means all sorts of flowers, which I actually like. It's also a name that is constantly altered by others. I've been called Susie, Sue, Suzanne, and just as my mother recently reminded me, I refused to answer teacher in the first grade when she tried to call me by the wrong name. Susan is a name so popular, it reached the top 10 most popular girls' names 6 times already. So it's a solid name. So solid that there are over 1,124,871 other Susans. And that's not me. I'm not like everyone else. So why should I want to be identified as such? I'm creative by nature as a designer, so this probably comes as no surprise. I have been mad, uncomfortable, and annoyed by my name for 5 decades. Now, maybe it was part exhaustion from this past year and being tired of saying things, being things I just don't want to do anymore. But as I move into whatever's next in my life, I wanted to do it with a name that fits who I am. A name that represents me and a name that took the first 2 letters of my first name to honor my parents and the person I was named after and the first 4 letters of my second name. So I'm not leaving Susan completely behind, but evolving the name in what feels more frantic, fresh, authentic, and spirited. So a few days after announcing the change to Samara, I received this message from a friend. Changing your name is so on brand for you. And that, my friends, is the power of a brand. Thank you.
Thank you. That was incredible. And what a grand finale. I loved that.
Like I said, I had so much to say. Apologies for going a little bit over.
That's okay. That's okay. So just to close out, because we do still have people with us here, I'm just going to switch back over really quickly to a couple of upcoming IIDA events. And thanks everyone for hanging on. I know we sort of ran out of time for Q&A, but I do want to remind everybody that the slides for this, or the entire presentation will be up on our YouTube channel at some point. And you know, there was so much good content there. I hope people were in note-taking mode. I sure was. So gosh, thank you so much again, Samara. That was amazing.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Yeah. Okay, so just in closing, I'm just going to point out a couple of upcoming events. San Diego is having a spring, these are all virtual, by the way. San Diego City Center is having a spring product flyby on May 18th at noon. The Caliber Awards, 2021 Caliber Awards are next week, next Thursday, May 20th, beginning at 6 p.m. If you haven't purchased a ticket yet, they're $25 for members and $50 for non. That should be a really outstanding event. And then finally, our IIDA SoCal annual chapter meeting will be this July 24th. And again, these are all virtual events, so look for more information on the IIDA website. And that's it. I'm going to close it out here. Again, I just want to thank our outstanding speaker, Samara. That was super incredible. I hope everyone is as inspired as I am. And I will sign everyone off at this point.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.